Well, I don't see any other folks waiting. So we might as well get started.
Right.
It's great to see everybody tonight, and we're looking forward to seeing you all in person soon. There's a lot of stuff coming on, a lot of changes, as I said in my emails, that are coming about. Um, Not everything is going to be opened immediately, but we've got some real solid changes coming about. So I'm going to share my screen with you and show you a PowerPoint that I put together that's got a bunch of information in it. So bear with me while I do this techie stuff here. And let's do this. So we are now in, for those who are not familiar with the things that are going on and are new to the program, hang on just a second. We got a couple more folks coming in. Okay. Folks that are new to the program, we're now in phase 3 of the re-engagement plan of Project Healing Waters. And there are 5 phases to it altogether. Doing these virtual meetings is the first phase. Phase 2 allowed one-on-one outdoor meetings with a volunteer and a veteran. Phase 3 is multiple people being allowed in, and there were a lot of restrictions to that. So the restrictions are being changed as we go along. And so this is going to tell you a lot about what's coming up here real soon. But first, we need to take it on a lighter note here. Fishermen always spend a little bit more than the cost of their fish, as you well know. And guy on the left says, wait a minute, Earl, do you realize we spent on this fishing trip made this one fish cost about $800? Again, the right says, it's sort of like we're members of Congress, isn't it? Okay, I know the microphones are muted, so I can't hear you all laughing hysterically, but I had to do that. So here we go.
Get it.
This is a table, and there's 2 pages of what the requirements were and what they're being changed to, and I'm going to go over each one of them. And I'll comment about where the significant ones really are. Initially, we were being required to monitor the positivity test rate for each state. It had to be below 5% for us to be approved for an outing. Okay, that requirement has been dropped completely. They feel that every state now is, number one, is below the 5% limit, and also that the vaccination rate is at 43%, which they believe is sufficient to keep us all safe. So that requirement has been dropped, and we don't even monitor it anymore. The total number of participants and volunteers had been limited to 10, and that's been doubled. So it's now up to 20 individuals. And as they say, that's participants or veterans and volunteers together are allowed to go on these outdoor outings. Vets and volunteers were required to show proof of vaccination, and that requirement has been dropped. There is now no requirement to show proof. A verbal is okay. If you tell me you've been vaccinated, then that is good enough. Initially, we were going to be required to keep vaccination records, and they found out that they can't do that. So there are going to be no records that we're going to have to keep. And that's a big deal to the volunteers, because trying to keep track of all that was going to be a nightmare. So again, there's no requirement for that now. Everybody's on the honor system. Masks required if you are unvaccinated. It's not required if the distance is 6 feet or greater, but it is if it's less than 6 feet of social distance. Okay. Fly tying and rod building were not allowed in phase 3, but they are now allowed in phase 3 as an outdoor activity, which may be fine in Virginia or Maine, but I don't see us sitting in a park at 105 degrees trying to tie flies or build rods, so it really doesn't apply to us. But this next one is significant, and that is that our outings had to occur within a 100-mile radius of the home of either the vet or the volunteer. And that has now been increased to a 150-mile radius. As I say, that's a big deal because we were just about out of business for the remainder of the summer until this change came through. And I campaigned for it pretty hard to get this happening. This will allow us to go to the rim lakes. It will allow us to go to Cottonwood and all the lakes in the Prescott area without exception at this point. Keeping in mind that there are some of our participants and volunteers that live on the outer edges, if you will, of the valley, and some of them could not meet the 100-mile radius limit, okay, for places like the Green Valley Lakes in Payson, okay? But now with the 150-mile radius, we'll be in good shape with that.
Rich, I have a question, if I may interrupt you. Sorry.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me okay? Or
yes, now I can hear you.
okay. So it's from the volunteer or the veterans?
It's each individual has to be within the 150-mile radius.
But
Okay.
Steve lives up in Whitman, buying volunteer to the individual veteran.
Yes, again, it applies to everybody. There are a few exceptions to it, but basically it applies to everybody. 150 mile from your home address to the location where we're going to be fishing or wherever the outing is.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions before I move on? Good. All right. Unvaccinated people were not allowed to fish from boats, but now that's been approved, but they must wear a mask while in the boat. That one I think is probably going to be changed next, but I'm not certain about that. Of course, people that are vaccinated, no mask is required. Unvaccinated people could not share equipment, and now they can. That's now approved. Unvaccinated people could not share food or drinks, and now that is approved. That means that we can schedule to have lunches like we've had in the past. In the past, we've arranged to have lunch when we were out on fishing trips, on day trips, and it was going to be a real problem for us to tell some folks they could eat and other folks they couldn't. So now everybody will be able to share, and we will be providing lunches on our outdoor outings. Okay, so that's a good thing. That means Norm's famous hot dogs, for those who are familiar with that. So also the next one, the health questionnaire was required via email. Anybody that's been on one of these knows that they would get a questionnaire via email from National. Had to fill out the questionnaire, answer all the questions correctly before you were approved to go on the outing. That requirement has been dropped. Everybody is going to be responsible for themselves. Basically, if you're sick, you have any symptoms at all of COVID, or if you have been near someone with COVID within the last 14 days, then stay home. Again, this is going to be on the honor system. Everybody has to do their share, and I think it'll work out just fine. Initially, we thought we were going to have everybody fill out a questionnaire on site when we got there, but that has not come about. So everybody, if you're sick, stay home, please. Okay, pretty simple. Unvaccinated individuals cannot carpool, and that has not changed. Unvaccinated folks must provide their own transportation. And again, it's for safety reasons. Sometimes we're in the car 2 or 3 hours, and that's a little bit longer than the guidelines and the distancing. So fully vaccinated individuals can carpool. Okay. Any questions on this page? All right, that's everything that's changed, the big stuff that's changed. Now, things that have not changed, these restrictions and requirements are still in place. First of all, we have to comply with all Project Healing Waters, federal, state, and local COVID constraints and restraints. Headquarters still reviews all outings and must approve them. But as I just said a minute ago, a lot of the requirements like the questionnaires and the distance and all that stuff has all changed. So it'll make the approval process much easier for the folks at National, which is good. Not more than one healing activity at each location at the same time. That means there was some concerns that programs were going to schedule 2 different events, but at the same location. And we still cannot do that. You can't have 2 events running at the same location at the same time. Okay. Everyone who participates in these events must be in active status in the CRM, which is the database system that everybody has to register to. We're working on ways of registering some of the new folks. Some of you that are new with the program have not registered in CRM, and we are working out how that's going to take place to get you out on some of these outings. Okay. You also have to have completed the COVID-19 waiver form in CRM, and that's a one-time thing. Okay. There is a special waiver just for COVID-19. Volunteers only have to complete training that's called conducting an outdoor program activity during the COVID-19 pandemic. Many of the volunteers who have been running some of these events recently have already completed that. But those who are getting re-engaged again, you'll have to take care of that. And just let me know and we can get that set up for you. It doesn't take very long. It's about a 20-minute to a half-hour effort. And then everybody has to adhere to the sanitation policies, which basically means wash your hands, use hand sanitizer, 6-foot distancing when you can, etc. It's all pretty straightforward stuff. All right. Any questions on any of this? Boy, I must be doing a really good job. Okay, there's some more. Have to, of course, follow all laws for PFDs or personal flotation devices. Volunteers may not fish during a healing event. That is still in place. All events must be scheduled, as I said, and approved through CRM at least 2 business days prior to the event and at medium or low risk locations. The medium and low risk locations, every place that we go qualifies to those requirements, but there are requirements that are specific to that. And the event leader must conduct pre-activities, activities, and post-activities. And there's some procedures that we have to follow on those. And those that are leading these different events will know all about that good stuff. There are still no overnight trips or indoor activities that are authorized at this time. And I'm going to talk about those just a little bit here. Again, any questions, anybody? All right. Well, with those changes, we're going to be able to start scheduling some trips. And our next trip is in about 2 weeks. It's going to be to Fain Lake, which is outside of Prescott. It will be shore fishing, and Gary Shellman will be the lead on that one. So that's on the 29th of June. Those people that are registered in CRM will be getting the invitation to this and all the other activities that are listed here. Again, you have to be registered in CRM in order to participate, okay? Just let me know whenever you're ready, and we'll work out the details of getting you registered and getting through the necessary paperwork that is required to get you out on the water, okay? Then the 14th of July, we're going to be going to Willow Springs Lake. Again, it'll be shore fishing, and I will be the lead on that one. And then on July 31st, Goldwater Lake, again, shore fishing, and Gary Showman will be the lead on that one also. Then we have some other trips that we haven't got all the details down yet, but we do have some. On the 11th of August, Woods Canyon Lake, and as it says here, sponsored by with boats from the marina, and Tody Keller is the guy that runs that show up there, and he donates the use of some of the John boats for our use for an entire day. In the past, we've had, I think, 6 to 8 boats. We put 2 people plus a driver in each boat. These are electric powered boats, trolling motors, and we do require water certifications for that. And we've got to get the water certifications scheduled, and we'll start doing those pretty soon.
Rich,
Yes.
if I may, there's typically 1 driver plus a fisherman.
Did I say 2?
Yes,
I think I did. You're right. It's generally 2 people in a boat.
thank you.
Yep, sorry. And we will work on the water certs. The same will be true, as you can see, in September, where again, Tony is donating the boats for us. We're working on that. We also have Willow Springs Lake and shore fishing scheduled the end of August. So those things are all firm dates at this point, okay? All of the scheduling is going to happen. You're going to get the notifications and everything through email. Again, for those that have not been participating on any of these, you'll get the invitation by email. It's on a first come, first served basis. So please reply as quickly as you can if you're interested in going. And then when we reach the maximum of 20 people, then we will cut it off, and you'll have to try again next time. That's about all we can do at this point, okay? And then there's also some emails and some invitations, etc., that will come from National once we submit the names for the trip. So there's a lot of detail that goes into it, but the key thing is here, these dates are fixed. Doesn't mean that they can't change, they may, but at least you can mark your calendar at this point. These trips will be coming up. And this is the first time in a year and a half that we have been able to schedule these kind of trips. Okay, so that's why it's a big deal, and we're all looking forward to it. Okay. Now, after that, as of October 1, we have some dates on here. Some of them are firm, but they can be moved. There's others that are not. So I'm just going to run through them here quickly. The 2nd of October, Willow Springs Lake again for shore fishing. There's a possibility that we can do an overnight trip in October. We will, from the latest information that I got, which is literally less than an hour old, it looks like they're going to be opening up overnight trips on the 1st of October. Okay. We will not, in the past, we've had 2 trips in October, actually the last few days of September and the beginning of October each year, going to Silver Creek. Last year, we did not participate, obviously, but let's see, yeah, just last year. In the past, there has been work by the Game and Fish to allow our folks special access to the upper sections of Silver Creek. They've had food trucks for us and all kinds of stuff, and it's been fantastic. There's been a change of management up there, and as far as we know right now, there's nothing been planned for the October 1 opener of the season up there for Healing Waters and disabled vets like there has been in the past. We do know that last year for the opener, there were cars lining up at the gate at midnight the night before the opening. And they only allow 43 vehicles on the property at a time. And they had people manning the gate. When somebody left, the next person came in. That was due to the demand from the public to get on the water. So we are not going to try and participate in that. Maybe next year, if they have a similar program to what they've had in the past, maybe we'll do it. But in the meantime, we're looking at October the 12th to the 14th for a Silver Creek trip. And obviously that's all dependent on whether or not we get released for October 1. Okay. 28th of October, Yavapai Lakes that Bill just talked about. He took some fish out of there. So that too's in the Prescott area. And that date might be impacted by stocking by Game and Fish. We're not sure right now. That's quite a ways out. In November, we've got a couple of things that the dates are to be determined. One is with at the Payson Green Valley Lakes, and that's a trip that's sponsored by the Payson Flycasters and Tom Herman, who is with us tonight. So we're waiting on a date to firm that up. Then also we're going to firm up the date for Red Mountain Lakes, which is out in East Mesa. Most of that date selection will be based on when they start stocking out there. And the same thing is true with December, Veterans Oasis Park. Again, this one is sponsored by the Slun Lakes Fly Fishing Club, and George Abernathy is the president of that. So we're looking at a date on that. Again, that may be impacted by the scheduling of the stocking also. Then also in December, Steel Indian School Pond. That's right next to the main VA hospital down in Phoenix. So you're probably familiar with that. That gets stocked also. That's shore fishing there. And then a holiday party this year. It's obviously not a fishing trip, but I thought I'd put that in there. We haven't had our annual holiday party for 2 years now, and so we're all looking forward to that, and we'll have to select a day for that. So as you can see, we've got a lot on the schedule now, and this is only for fishing trips. We are also looking at getting our indoor program revved up again. So anybody got any questions on any of this? Okay. Now, for the other program activities, phase 4 is the indoor core program activities. This will allow us to have fly tying classes, for instance, and education classes. In the past, we've had those twice a month in a couple of different locations around the valley. The start date of that has not been determined yet. At least it's not documented in any way. There was some discussion that that may happen sometime in either July or August. I'm expecting that we would be able to get that kind of a program going again in September. Part of it is dependent on the meeting locations. We have to secure them and make sure that we're going to be able to keep the schedules that we'd like. And again, phase 5 is overnight outings. We're hoping for October, as I said. Apparently there was a meeting just today of some of the key folks at National, and October 1 was discussed, but there's nothing firm on that yet. So that's what's going on. As I said in the beginning, there's a lot happening, and hopefully there's going to be a lot more happening soon. So questions, comments, what do people think about
I
all
do have a
this?
comment.
Yes, sir.
I do have a comment question.
Okay.
And that is, if you're going to Woods Canyon and you don't qualify to get in a boat, can you still come if you're shore fish?
Yes, if we manage the maximum number of people being 20. The only thing that would keep people out of boats would be the water certs at this point. And we're looking at possible alternatives to that. Maybe abbreviated. I'm going to stop sharing here for a minute. Perhaps an abbreviated water cert kind of thing might be practical. We're not sure yet. We're pretty far down the road on that. We've got some time on that, but we're hopeful that we'll be able to get a lot of people out on the water on that.
I have a question here. If people are out on a boat, that's one group. There's another group, I'm going back with what Bill's asking, and the other group is fishing on the shore. You could have more than 20 people then, because you actually have 2 activities going in 2 different places at the same time.
I understand what your comment, but we are not allowed to have 2 activities at the same location at the same time. So that would not work out.
Water is on one place and the lake is, the shore is another place. That's 2 different areas.
It is, but it is considered to be one location.
Okay.
Okay. But what we could do is we could have a group, say, at Willow Springs, and a mile away have a group at Woods Canyon. Or we could have a group in the morning and then the second group in the afternoon. There are some alternatives, but for right now, the difference between shore and boat, it's still the same location, still the same body of water, so that one wouldn't fly. But good idea. Other questions or comments? Good.
Rich,
Yeah.
this is JC.
Yeah.
On Woods Canyon, does whoever's driving the boat need to have the boat certification from the Coast Guard or the state?
Yes. That's part of our basic program for water
Right.
safety, is that we have, anybody that's driving a boat has a state certificate. It's issued by Fish and Game, or you can get it a couple of the different ways. You can take it over the computer and that kind of thing from contractors, people that work with the state, with Fish and Game. We have a lot of our volunteers already have their cards, and they don't expire. And so we'll probably have enough people, but it is something we have to be concerned with. Thanks for bringing that up. Other questions or comments? Good. All right. I'm going to share my screen and keep going.
We're gonna get Jet in a boat this year.
Who's that? Oh, yeah, Steven? Yep.
No, you're not gonna get Jet in a boat this year or any other year.
Oh,
Oh,
All right, then Jet, we're going to have you on shore.
That's right.
Yep. And that's okay. We will definitely do that for you. Yep, you bet. All right. Yeah, moving. Here we go again. Let me keep moving down here. All right. So we talked about the other program activities, got that squared away. So then the next thing to talk about is actually some fishing. And it starts out on a beautiful piece of water like that. This is Oak Creek. Somebody said they were fishing Oak Creek this week. And this is a section that's down by Page Springs, and it's just a pretty chunk of water.
Is that what water looks like?
It is, yeah.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, yep. So, a couple of random things. First of all, I wanted to make sure that the women knew that this month with the FFI, this month is Women's Fly Fishing Month, and they have a schedule of events that are coming up. One is tonight, unfortunately. And then there are two more, one on January 22nd and one on the 28th. So if you're interested in any of those, you can go to the FFI website and get some more information on that. Okay. This is our YouTube channel. And I wanted to talk a little bit about this, again, because we have a lot of new people with us, and give you an idea of what is on this channel. This is our homepage, and we have some playlists that look like this. And on the playlists, we have 3 different playlists. One is the virtual meetings. One is some favorite videos, and then we have basic fly tying videos and instructions. So this is what they look like, and these are great sources of information for you. The virtual meetings, I'm going to skip off here and actually go to this page here in a minute, but the virtual meetings page is where I put all of the recordings of these meetings like we're doing tonight. Each one, I do a little bit of editing, and then I put it up on the YouTube channel for people that either cannot attend the meetings or don't do Zoom, or for whatever reason, doesn't matter. But this is what it looks like. So I saw an article, and this is tied into YouTube here, so hang on. Okay, this article took place, or is in this month's Fly Fisherman magazine, and it caught my eye. One of the basic principles that it talks about is less time tying knots means more time catching fish. And if you can read that very first intro line up there, You know, the longer the fly stays in the water, the greater the chances are of you catching fish. So tying faster knots is part of it. Okay, and I think all of us with somewhat aging fingers can find faster and better ways to tie knots. It's probably a good thing. So we're going to talk about that for a little bit tonight. And this is a knot that I was not familiar with until I started doing this research, and it's called a cigar knot. And it allows you to tie monofilament like a leader with a fluorocarbon tippet. And it's calling them leaders and main line, but the principle is still the same. It can work very well with real small sizes of fluorocarbon. I tried some with down to a 7x fluorocarbon last night, and the knot held really well. And I've got a video to show you about how to tie it pretty quickly. So this is a new knot that I wanted to go over tonight. And that is also my last slide. So I am going to stop sharing this and get into some of the things on our YouTube channel. So again, this is live now. This is actually the YouTube site now. And I'm going to go kind of backwards here and show you the playlist of the fly tying instructions that John Schomburg put together more than a year ago. There's actually 18 individual videos here on all the different key types of techniques that are used during fly tying. They're excellent. They are very brief. Each one is 2 to 3, maybe 4 minutes, and talks about a specific skill that is necessary. And John put an awful lot of work into these, and they're really well done. If you're into fly tying at all and you're having trouble with something, don't hesitate to come back here. You can look at one of these videos anytime you want. You can look at them as many times as you want. Okay, they are really good. And John, thank you again for doing these. The second playlist on here is on favorite videos, and we're going to get into that in a minute. One over here on the left is the virtual meetings, and this is where we have the recordings of each of these meetings, such as what we're doing tonight. Okay, and this is where the one from tonight is going to be placed in a day or two. It takes a little time to do the processing of it and a little bit of editing. I take out the time period in the beginning where you're all kind of sitting around while I'm taking attendance, etc. So I do a little bit of editing, and then it's the actual content of the meeting. So anytime that you miss a meeting, within a few days, you can come here and replay it. Okay. And lastly, is where we're going to get into some of this knot tying stuff tonight. So one of the knots that is talked about in the magazine article that I told you about is the Davy knot. And if you're not using the Davy knot to secure your tippet to the fly, it is a good one. So I'm going to try. Everything's got ads in it, right? So hang on a second here. Yeah, pause. These come from different sources. Most of them I've selected because they're easy to see or they're easy to follow. They may not be easy to hear as I send them over Zoom here. So we'll try that. If you can't hear it, let me know and I'll crank it up. But you can look at them full size like this. And here we go. Oops. It's not the one I wanted. Sorry about that. We were supposed to be looking at the Davy knot. There we go. That's better.
Yeah, Rich, we can't hear it.
All right, and that is the Davy knot. Are any of you using the Davy knot?
I almost use it exclusively now. It's a very good knot, but you need to test it at home before you use it. I have some fly line that will, or fishing line, it will not hold with the Davy. I have to do a double Davy or another kind of knot.
I have heard that too, Bill. I'm using it also almost exclusively, especially on really small flies. I find that it's so much less bulky and it's so much quicker to tie that it's really worthwhile learning. The other thing that I've noticed about it is that if you tie it large with large loops and then just capture that tag end with your fly, you can use very, very little tippet material. I mean, the knot will take less than 1 inch of tippet.
Absolutely.
Okay, and it makes it a lot easier for people like me with fumble fingers. Okay, and remember, the original article was to do it quicker so you can get the fly back in the water, and that knot ties quickly, especially if you practice it a little bit. Start with bigger line and a bigger hook, and then work your way down into some of the smaller ones, and even a 5X tippet will, and fluorocarbon, it'll hold really well. The only other thing I would say is make sure you wet it. A little spit on it goes a long way. That'll make it really seat tightly.
Yeah, you really need to hold on to the tag end as you tighten it up. If you
Yes.
let loose of the tag end at all, it comes completely undone.
Absolutely true. Yeah, and that's why, as I say, if you grab that while you're holding the fly, I like to hold the hook by the sides so it doesn't slide into my finger, and hold the tippet at the same time. you're only using up like a 1/2 inch of material. And then that knot will seat really well. Just clip the end and you're good to go.
I have a question.
What's that?
I have a question. Does it matter which way you go through the hook? I noticed that one time he was going from the hook end and the other time he was coming from the back end.
It does not matter which direction you go through, as long as you keep the sequence of events the same. I've seen some people tie it kind of upside down to the way that he did it. Doesn't really matter. Whatever way works for your fingers, go for it.
It seems to be just an over under on one side and an over under on the other side is the important part.
That's correct. And you can also do a double Davy knot, and you can find videos on YouTube for that as well. And that just puts one more bend in it and one more loop. And supposedly it's stronger. But I honestly can't say that I've had the single fail.
I have not either. The only time they say you should use the double Davy is when you have a larger hook.
And a larger line, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. That would imply a bigger fish too. Right? Okay. There's also a video here on the clinch knot. And just about all of us are familiar with the clinch knot or improved clinch knot. This video and this demonstration is really good. It's very easy to follow. So I'm going to play that one next. Again, that's probably one of the best videos I've seen on the clinch knot. There's got to be a dozen of them out there that show you different ways of doing it. This is just one of those that I found to be very easy to follow. Again, keeping with the theme of quicker, the key thing that I noticed on this is when he makes the first turn through the eye of the hook, he makes that big loop by pinching.
This video, we're going to be tying the Davy knot. This is becoming a pretty popular knot. It's super small, quick to tie, and has a
what's that? I think it was Mark. I couldn't hear you very well. Nope. So this is an alternative to the Davy. If you're still stuck on using a clinch knot, which a lot of people have been using all their life, Okay, this is just another way of tying the clinch, and it just works really quickly. So I just thought I'd show you that one. The last one I want to get into is the Seeger knot, which is the photo that I showed you of that one a minute ago. There's also a video in here on the surgeon's knot. I've included that on our channel. There's two different videos of the Seeger knot, and one is by Lefty Cray, and I'm going to show you that one. We won't run the full length, but it too is very good, and it shows it with monofilament and a braided leader, which makes it easy to see. And there's really no audio with this, but just follow along with the written instructions. There's a little bit of audio, but it's really hard to hear. Sorry about that. Always got to have advertising, right? The Seeger knot appears to be really strong. I've tied it a couple of times now. Putting 2 fingers through the loop and twisting seems to work really well. I was able to tie it faster than I could tie a double surgeon's knot. Again, its only purpose is to tie the leader and the tippet together. You can tie it with the tag end fairly long so that you can create a dropper at that point also. And it works quite well with that apparently. So there's a couple of different ways of tying some of these knots. They are quicker and they seem to be more finger friendly, if you will. And hopefully you'll be able to try some of those out on the water. Comments or questions about any of that stuff?
When can we start signing up for water certs, and when do we need, how do we find out if we need them?
Just about everybody is going to need to do a recertification, Tony. We've got, just about everybody's has expired at this point. So we'll be getting the word out on certifications as soon as we can schedule them and figure out when we're going to do it and how we're going to do it. Okay. So, other questions or comments?
Hey, Rich, it's Makasia. When can I do the CRM?
I can get you the information. I will email it to you. And for everybody, the process on that is not very difficult. You go to a website, fill in the information. At the end of it, you will have, once you get everything all completed, if you happen to miss something, it will tell you that before you move on. At the end, you'll have to electronically sign 3 or 4 forms. They're waivers and that kind of stuff, some legal stuff. The process for that is you sign it, then you receive an email with a link, and you have to click the link. And once you do that, then that verifies that it's you, in fact, that have signed it. So you need an email address that's working. Obviously, if you got the invitation to come to this meeting tonight, you've got a working email. And so that's pretty straightforward. It looks complicated and kind of daunting at first, but it's not that bad. And there are good instructions that are there. And as soon as you get everything completed, it goes into National, and it is then reviewed by someone at National, and your status, if everything is completed, is changed to active when that happens. And so that's the process, and I can email that to you.
Sounds good. I sent you over my information on your direct message.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right. Other questions, comments? Anybody excited about going fishing again?
Mike Cloud here. I have a question.
Yeah.
Are we open to new participants?
Yes, we are. And that's the procedure that I was just talking about with getting signed up in CRM. And yes, we can definitely take them on. There are a couple of things that we're going to have to do. We do have to have a waiver for our support club, which is Arizona Flycasters. Okay. When you go on your first outing after someone is just registered in CRM, they will have to sign one of the AFC waivers in person. And the trip leads will have copies of those with them, and we will make sure that we get those signed off at the beginning of that outing. That is a hard and fast requirement that we must observe. Okay, everybody has to sign that waiver. Okay. Other questions or comments? All right. Well, we're going to wrap up a few minutes early then. Hopefully that information about the knots is going to help you out. Try some of those at home before you go out on the stream. as I said, when I tried them over the last couple of days after reading the article in the magazine, I tried a couple of different things, and it definitely seemed to make a difference. Those methods are definitely quicker, and the results, namely a good secure knot, okay, is really good. So try them. As I said before, there are lots of different videos out there that you can use. Find one that works for you and stick with it, bookmark it or whatever you do, and take it from there. There are other things you can do to get your time on the water more effective. A little bit of planning goes a long way. Well, I know I find one of the things that I do is when I finally decided that this fly is not working and it's time to change it, I bring it in, I'll take the old fly off and then start thinking about what I'm going to put on next. And that's usually when I start looking at a fly box that's populated like that. There's a bunch of different flies on there, and I've come to the conclusion that if I planned it a little bit better, instead of digging through my fly boxes after I've already taken it out of the water, that it'd be a lot better off. If I can just plan a little bit ahead, I can get the fly back in the water quicker. So just more things to think about as if you didn't have enough, right? So, all right, unless there are more comments or questions, I think we'll wrap it up tonight.
I have a question.
Yes.
Mike Clapp.
Yeah, Mike.
To get to the YouTube channel, do we go to YouTube and then PH Healing Waters?
Yes, Phoenix Healing Waters. And I'm going to, when I send out the email, I'm going to send out an email, Mike, with invitations for everybody to go and look at the recorded message, and you'll be on that as well. So you'll be able to get it directly, but it is Phoenix Project Healing Waters Fly Tying and Fly Fishing is the name of it. And I'm going to just jump back over there for a minute, make sure I got that right. Okay. Yeah, it's called PHWFF, Phoenix Program Fly Tying and Fishing. Okay, and I will send you a link to that, along with a link to the specific one for this meeting. Because there were a lot of people when we made phone calls this past weekend that said they couldn't make it, or we wound up leaving a message, etc. And I'll talk about that in a second. And the people that I did talk to that could not join us tonight said, "Oh, you're going to have a recording. That's great." We really appreciate that because some people are working tonight, etc. I wanted to thank our volunteers and some of our participants that made phone calls this weekend. We made collectively about 160 telephone calls to people that have been participating in the program in the past. We didn't leave anybody off of our list except those that said, "Please don't call me anymore." Okay. And so the intent was to get more people to come to this meeting, and I think it worked. So I wanted to say thank you to Gary and Pledger and Mark, John, JC, Glenn, who is not here tonight. They all made phone calls and left messages, and I appreciate your help on that. And so don't hesitate to call on those guys or give me a call if you wish. And hopefully we'll get to see each other on the water here real soon. Look for the emails announcing those trips that are coming up. They will be coming out very soon. So that being said, I think we'll put a wrap up on it tonight. So thank you again for being here, and hopefully we'll see you all soon.
Thank you, Rich. Good night,
You're
everybody.
welcome.
Thank you. You guys have a good night.
Yeah.
Good to see you guys
You
again.
too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye now.
So long.
Good evening, everybody. Have a great rest of the week.
You too, JC.
Yeah.
All right, and Norm, have a good trip.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right, good night, everybody.
Good night.